Greetings and welcome to the city of Tokyo. It is a very cold day, March 22nd, 2022. You can see up here, there's some power lines, and I thought that this would be a very interesting place to come because we are in the middle of something very challenging here in Tokyo. TEPCO, which is the Tokyo Electric Power Company, most famous for the 2011 great Tohoku earthquake, the nuclear meltdown up in Fukushima. Since that earthquake about over 10 years ago now, we've been having power supply issues for a long time. And the earthquake that happened last week has had an impact on the power coming in to Tokyo. Now you can see, I'm near a dark building here. You can see it's actually snowing here in Tokyo. It's like a mix of snow and rain. And it's a cold day. You can see my breath is out here, which is weird because I had shorts on just a couple of days ago. Which is very weird, right? But because it's such a cold, frigid, weird day, power consumption is up way higher than normal, at least for the last 7 days. So there was an issue of this before, like right after the earthquake happened. A lot of the reactors went offline. But because the weather is noticeably colder, my fingers are almost kind of numb. Oh, hold on a second. Is there no audio? Really? No audio? There should be audio. Yeah, because this cold weather is here, power consumption is up. Last night, I got a message from TEPCO asking to reduce power consumption and keep heat no higher than 20 degrees Celsius, which is actually enough. I don't think you need to be higher than that, but a lot of people have it at 24 degrees Celsius. Kanai likes to keep it nice and warm. But they ask us to reduce the heat and to reduce power consumption in our own house. I don't think in the history of Japan we'd ever been had a warning like this before. At least that's what the news is reporting here. We also have some other issues that are going on in Tokyo as a result of the earthquake. And it wasn't that strong here in Tokyo, but the repercussions of what happened up there in Tohoku really impacts this area. So I got a news report here. I printed it out. This is a TEPCO asks users to save power after quake. It's also a link in the description here. You can check it out because historically, I think this is sort of a big deal. So they asked starting on Friday night, which was last week, to make sure that the power shortages that there were going to be possible power shortages. Let's walk down this old alley here. Power shortages, and they said as of 9 p.m., demand had reached 98% of the power supply capacity through the margin, needs to be kept at or above 3% in order to ensure stable power. So we're at like 100%. And a lot of these houses here, and there's about 7 million households in the central of Tokyo. I don't think it's a bad signal on my end. I checked the upload speed, and it was 22 megabytes per second in this area. So I don't know why the signal would be weak here. You can see the power lines in these older buildings are connecting into it, as well as the telephone lines, which are not as useful. But there's a light right there on that building, and you can see it's connected by the power. So these are older buildings. I like this area of Tokyo because you can see the old and the new. In the older buildings, it's much more obvious to see the power lines. Even in a modern city like Tokyo, we have old buildings like this. So we're at 100%, and as a result, if it goes any higher, they're going to have to just shut off power to houses. So that means hundreds of thousands of houses could be without power in the city of Tokyo today and for the next couple of days. So I don't want to lose power. So if you are living in the Tokyo area, please conserve power because it's a team effort here. I feel bad for TEPCO because actually I don't as much, but sort of, because I know it's really tough. Power shortages may trigger large-scale outages. TEPCO requested users to reduce their electrical consumption between 9 p.m. and 10 p.m., which is apparently when people use the most amount of power. They come home from work, or it's the coldest right before bed, and they turn on the power. They're also watching lots more TV. They've got the washing and drying machines on. So to reduce power between 9 and 10 p.m., company asked for cooperation to save power for the first time since January 10th of last year, which was, because of the pandemic, a lot of people were at home on a very cold day. They just didn't have enough power. Now, the reason why there's not enough power is just, it stems all the way back to 10, 11 years ago, when a lot of the fossil fuel power plants went offline, as well as the nuclear power plants went offline. And there's not enough supply for the demand of power here in the city of Tokyo, which is odd, right? You'd think they would have solved this 10 years on, but they haven't yet. So what is Tokyo doing? Tokyo is going to be borrowing power from, I think, let's see here, Hokkaido Power, Chubu Power, Hokuriku Electric Company, Chugoku Electric Company, Kyushu Electric Company are all supplying power to TEPCO. This is sort of embarrassing, I think, right? So you would think, thank you for the warm tea. I'm gonna see if I can stop at a vending machine here to stay warm. You'd think that the TEPCO would have sort of found ways to, oh, that's pretty interesting. Check this out. These are like little motor scooters that you can rent that are battery powered. Oh, we're gonna check this out in a second, speaking of power. But it's pretty embarrassing, I think, that the TEPCO cannot get enough power to the customers following an earthquake, not be able to have backup. This also happened up there, and this is an issue. The Tohoku Shinkansen service is suspended between Nasushiobara and Morioka by a derailment here, which I think they're going to have off the tracks by the end of next week. But the line is down until April 20th, they're reporting. And there's a link in the description for more news articles. You can see the rain has kind of discolored this printout, but it's a very sad image to see the Tohoku Shinkansen derailed. There's safety features in the Shinkansen, so it's not something that you need to worry too much about. When a massive earthquake does happen, there's P waves, which are initial waves, and I felt it actually about 5 days ago when we had this big earthquake. I could feel the P waves in Tokyo, so I kind of had an idea there was an earthquake coming. The P waves are like a really light shaking that sometimes goes unnoticed because it's so light. But the JR East takes that into account and starts to slow down all Shinkansens. When any kind of waves are felt, the Shinkansen automatically starts to slow down. So when the big shock hit, the Shinkansen was able to stop much faster as a result of the safety features, which probably saved a lot of lives, because this derailment looks really bad, and it could have been a lot worse if that train had been going much faster speed. Again, the faster it goes, I think it's such a much more dangerous situation. Of course, there were only light injuries as a result of this Shinkansen derailment, which is a real testament to the safety that JR East puts into the trains here. Now that's going to keep the rails on the Tohoku Shinkansen shut down until April 20th. I'm actually really cold, and I'm speaking faster because my fingers are numb. I didn't expect snow to be falling either. So that's kind of bad news. So it's going to be harder to get up to Tohoku. It's easier to fly now and rent a car than it is, because there's no train, no fast way to get up there. I don't know about the local lines. I just haven't talked with anybody who's traveled up there. I was going to go to Tokyo Station to do this, but I figured it's really cold. Just find a neighborhood that's nearby that has power lines. Hopefully this power shortage is fixed by tomorrow. And the reason why it's fixed, we've got warmer weather coming in 24 hours. So with the warmer weather, people turn off the heat, they open the windows, they use less power. And that's what we're all hoping for the next 24 hours. So TEPCO is really trying hard to get through these 24 hours until tomorrow, even 12 hours now. When people go to bed, the power consumption goes down as well. Any questions? I know that because Japan is one of the countries on the Ring of Fire, we're going to have massive earthquakes sometimes. But it's just to be worrying that after 10 years since the last big earthquake, Tokyo Power and Electric and Power Company still doesn't have enough power for situations like this to make sure that consumers can heat their homes. It's weird, right? It doesn't make a lot of sense. Do you know that the power is mixed in Tokyo? Nuclear, solar, wind, burning trash. A lot of so right now the Isogo power plant in Yokohama is shut down. That's also part of the problem. I believe that's a fossil fuel plant. It's right outside of the city of Yokohama. And I was looking at their website. It was really funny. They actually had a power festival at the Isogo Power Company in 2019. And on the brochure, it looked like people were having a lot of fun at the power company. The Power Rangers were on the brochure, so it makes me wonder if Japan's power is powered by the Power Rangers, which would be very interesting. This is funny. It's a mix of all different kinds of things. Because it's a cloudy day here in Tokyo, the news is also reporting that solar power, which is another diversified power alternative that TEPCO has incorporated, is much lower as a result of the clouds and the snow. So like it seems to be like the perfect storm for power consumption. I'm looking at this tree right here, and this is also a testament of the chill and my worry here. You can see the cherry blossoms are just a day away from blooming. Do you see this? It's so close. And there's some cold rain on them, and I'm glad that they didn't bloom yet, because if they had, this rain might have washed it away. We're very close to the cherry blossoms opening. This Someyoshino blossoms all over the city of Tokyo. Look at that. So hopefully tomorrow's sunshine is going to be enough to open up those blossoms, and we're going to have a wonderful day. For the next 48 hours, we're just waiting for the weather to warm up. I'm like, I got cherry blossom fever, but today it's hard to feel it because even my fingers are numb because it's so cold. We have something called Sankan Shion, which is this weird spring weather before the warm weather breaks and we get good enough weather where we can go outside in shorts like I normally do in the end of March. There'll be like 3 days hot, 3 days cold, 3 days hot, 3 days cold, and this cycle of up and down with the temperatures, it goes on, and it's quite annoying, but then it just breaks and then it's warm for the rest until October. So right now we're in the middle of that. This feels like winter right now. It really feels like winter. So we're not that far away from these blossoms opening up and bringing us some spring fever again. Oh, it's cold. Vaughn, thank you. Stay safe. Thanks a lot. We haven't had any aftershocks here, which is a little bit odd. I thought we would feel a little bit more following the earthquake a couple of days ago, but it's still possible that these happen. And I have charged up the batteries in our earthquake pack. We have a bag by the door in case a strong earthquake hits, with water, some food. We put in some baby milk for Leo, and we have some snacks that we eat for a couple of days, some rations. We can just grab that. I have helmets also by the door that we just grab, and we can run to a park or an evacuation center if we need to following the earthquake. Staying in your house is okay too, but there's gas line, there's gas all around, and there's possible I don't know, dangers when in the streets, things falling from buildings and whatnot. So it's certainly, you know, a good idea to stay inside during the earthquake, and then to evacuate if there's structural damages around, especially after a strong one, to a place that is safe, because you just don't know. So that's the situation here. Hopefully we can get through these 24 hours and we don't have a power shortage or power outages, because that would wreak havoc. It would get even colder. We'd lose the things in our refrigerator. We don't want any of that. And even in 10 years after the Great Tohoku earthquake, we're still experiencing these kinds of shortages. So a lot of Tokyoites are kind of upset. The Kanto region is the only one really suffering. Tohoku is getting power, I believe, from Hokkaido Power, which is able to power Aomori and some of the other places should the shortages get really bad. So they're okay up in Tohoku. There might be some places that still have some power outages because they were hit a lot harder than we were down in Tokyo. But Tokyo, which is power hungry, has the biggest problems with power consumption, because there's 43 million people in the Kanto area, which encompasses Tokyo, Chiba, Tochigi, Gunma, Ibaraki, Kanagawa. So this region of Japan is just so densely populated. We just suck up power so much. we're the ones that are suffering the most. And hopefully TEPCO, which is still kind of reeling from the 2011 earthquakes and the meltdown down up in Fukushima, which powered a lot of the Kanto region, can figure out how to diversify enough that we don't have these problems in the future. There's a link in the description if you want to take a look at the article about the power supply warnings that we're getting, but it's just really weird in Tokyo that we have power supply warnings 5 days after an earthquake, just showing you that it's time maybe TEPCO should upgrade a little bit. I don't know. Or every house should have a solar panel and get off the grid maybe. Who knows? But right now, we are slightly worried about it. Angel, thank you. It's nice to see you here. Thanks for joining me. Tomorrow, Peter and I are going to a hamburger place live streaming. So you don't want to miss this one. Probably around 2:30 p.m., which is a little bit late for those on the East Coast of the United States. But a new burger chain has come into Tokyo, and they invited me to the press conference, which is weird. And I was just thinking, all right, you know what? I don't mind live streaming this because I got a lot of questions. Like, is there space in Japan for more burger chains? And I asked PVG, I said, hey, you want to come to this press conference because I have a ticket for one more? Like, it's weird that you get a ticket. And he's like, sure. So Peter's going to be coming to this press conference. We're going to eat burgers. Apparently, we get to try the menu there. I'm like, why not? It's nothing we're getting paid for or anything, which is sort of fun. So we're going to take you to the press conference tomorrow and try some burgers. And maybe we're going to get an answer to this question because I don't know if Japan has enough flexibility, elasticity in a burger market that seems pretty saturated. Why would Japanese want to eat burgers when they have such good cuisine? Why do you want burgers? Shake Shake is here, and like 6 or 7 other burger chains have opened up in the last couple of years. Umami Burger opened up, which is a California chain, is opened up at a couple of locations. So it's going to be interesting to see. So, right, PMX, why would we turn down a free meal? And it looks like they're pretty good burgers. I think the name of the chain is called Wayback. If you know anything about this chain, let me know. But they just opened up in Japan, and the press conference is tomorrow. I think Wayback Burger or something. I can't remember the name of it. But if you have any questions, you know anything about it, let me know because I could ask the CEO who's apparently going to be there tomorrow. So that'll be fun. Yeah, I don't know. I wish. What is the burger chain that Anthony Bourdain loved? I wish that chain would come here. But we don't have that. Johnny Rockets used to be here. Like, there were a lot of burger chains that went out of business in the 1990s, but they started to come back around 2010, 2011. Right before the Olympics, we saw an explosion of burger places, and now these days, not a lot of burgers. Oh, there's a vending machine. No, they're all cold. This is a big problem. Because we're close to the start of spring, all the drinks are cold. There's no hot ones there. Weird. On a day like today with the snow falling, you would want to have the hot stuff. You want to have the hot stuff. So the burgers are, it seems like it's a pretty saturated market, so I'm very curious about this. Even Mr. Beast has his own burger chain. You should bring it to Japan. Five Guys, they need that here too. They had Bear Burger, which is a New York chain. So I'm really curious to see how this chain, what they're going to be doing that's different, if they're going to be disruptive in the market. There's a guy behind me. Are they going to be disruptive in this market? Are they going to have a different menu? Are they going to charge prices that are much more expensive? So I'm curious to figure this out. So I'm kind of excited about this press conference tomorrow. So join me live tomorrow around 3 p.m. I also have the postcards I'm going to be sending out to a couple of people. I don't want to get them wet. I'm going to the post office right now. There it is right there. If you want one of these Snow Monkey postcards, you can get them until I guess we have another week or so before the end of the month. Sign up and I will send you one of these right away with a beautiful kimono stamp. Yeah. All right, everybody, I got to get going. Got to get to the post office. Don't use power. If you're in the city of Tokyo, please reduce your power consumption until things get better tomorrow, and I'll see you tomorrow when it's warmer. Not a lot of power lines on this street. See you, everybody.